Hi, so here is the video of the finished prize for my contest. Congratulations to Ness-C17. Vanessa, thank you so much everyone for entering. And here, trying to get into my lap, is Nibbles. Ow! By popular demand, Nibbles. Nibbles, come here, look. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say hi. That's Nibbles. Anyway, thank you so much for entering. Thank you so much for subscribing and watching, and have a happy holiday. Okay, so to start, I pull my reference image into Photoshop and I'm going to adjust the brightness and contrast because it's a little dark. You can play around with those levels however you want, but I was just making it easier for me to see my reference. Now I'm just sketching it with the palette knife brush that I always use. And you're going to notice some random jumps places, and the reason for that, in addition to the reason why I've been gone so long, is that when I was making this video, it crashed my hard drive. Yeah, it was about like 8 hours long originally, and it shook down to being like 100 gigabytes. And I was loading it from my external drive, and it basically murdered the damn thing. So once I got the data recovered, there were some parts of this that were corrupt, but you get you get most of it and whatever. And I'm back, so yay! But anyway, so I'm just sketching this out. Like I said, I'm not doing it on the background layer. This is the second layer up. So that it's not black and white, it's just the black. And now I have another layer for the colors, and I'm using the pen tool to just block in the colors. You could use the brush tool, the pen tool, the lasso tool, however you want to do it. Some people might think using the pen tool is cheating. I don't give a shit. It's easier and the lines are cleaner, and you just have to blur them out a little bit so that they're not too sharp. And I'm doing all the different touching colors on separate layers, and here I'm showing you the actual layers that I have. They're probably like 12 or 13 or something like that in total, but basically you can do it all in one if you want, and you can do it every little piece separate if you want. It's just the way I do it. Layers are there, so make use of them to whatever level of skill you have. If you want to keep your colors separate, just in case you mess up, or just to help you manipulate them. A lot of times, I just do it because I'm not 100% that the colors that I'm using are correct or what I want to end up using. So having the different colors on separate layers makes it a lot easier to adjust the values later on. Again, you could do that on one layer, but why make life difficult on yourself? So first off, I started with the guy skin because I was a little worried. I've never really done dark black skin before, and it is hard for me. I mean, I remember when I was drawing caricatures, and I used to like cringe when a dark black dude or somebody would roll up, because I was just like, crap, like I have such a hard time communicating like the beauty and like the tones of the skin color. Like I would epic fail every single time. But actually for me, I found that it's a lot easier digitally, because it's not like you're using crayons and crap and you can screw up as easily, and it's a lot easier for me to layer on the colors. So that's what you have to do when you're dealing with dark black skin. There's usually like an undertone of, and this gentleman had like a pinkish red undertone, but sometimes you get like purple, green, blue. It's just all these cool kind of different colors, and I've always envied people who can paint stuff like that. So it was cool to actually do what I thought was a fairly decent job on some black skin, so hooray for me. I used a slightly textured brush to do some of the highlighting on his nose, just to give it kind of like a skin pore sort of look. Anyone who's watched my videos before knows that I use the brush tool and the smudge tool in concert. I just toggle back and forth between the two tools, and I use some custom brushes made by Adonis on DeviantArt, and the main custom brush that I use is the palette knife brush for my laying down color. And then for blending, I use the smudge tool with the 39 splatter, and that default, it's either splatter or spatter, whatever. That's a default Photoshop brush. So I am doing the eyes, which are on a separate layer. They look like really crappy and dead right now, but I eventually improve that. What really takes away a lot of that flatness is the eyelid, the lower eyelid, the upper eyelid, adding depth to those colors, showing the thickness. That's something that you really have to convey to communicate the realness of the eye. You have to show the roundness of the shape of it, but also use that lower eyelid to really give it some layering and some depth. And you can't ignore, as much as we all want everyone to look as youthful and beautiful as possible, you can't ignore the eye socket, you have to, you know, add some shadow for that. And you just have to be aware of what you're doing so that, you know, you don't make your subject look like they've been on a 30-day bender or something like that. Just, you know, you can obviously tell the difference between dark eyeshadows and eye sockets, and so you just make some nice little coloring and it usually works out for you. I was blending out the eyebrows, and I just added some highlights to the eyes, and they're pretty much done. So yeah, I'm doing the lips. They started out on a separate layer when I was flattening out the color, but then I merged them with the skin. You want to work with the lips and the skin in concert, because the lips should pull in some colors from the skin, even if the person's wearing lipstick, to really relate the lips to the rest of the face. I'm doing the teeth now. Like I always mention with teeth, be very aware of the darkness of the lines that you use to differentiate teeth, because I think this guy actually did have a slight gap, but you can make a slight gap look like football field goalpost if you use a really dark color. So just, you know, be conscious of your tones and shades and whatnot. And onto the ears. Everybody knows I hate them. I don't know, you just basically do the best that you can. I don't think these ears really matched up very well. I think I made I'm looking at it right now and the left one looks a little smaller, but yeah, we're not all perfect. But I'm moving on to Vanessa. I'm going to start with her skin, and I laid the sketch, I toggled the sketch layer back on so that I can see where everything goes. I sketched this out originally with the glasses like there were in the reference, but I wanted to make that an option, so I drew the eyes. It was easier for Vanessa because her glasses were a little more transparent, a little more see-through or translucent or whatever. The guy, not so much, because he had very dark glasses on, so I was kind of making some stuff up and using a secondary reference to try to see what his eyes look like. So I hope I got it right, but if I didn't, sorry dude, my bad. So anyway, for the shadow on Vanessa's skin tone, whenever you're picking highlight shadow colors or whatever, you don't just want to take your base color and just like make it slightly darker. You want to add some other tones to it. So her shadow color actually has some blue in it to kind of play up on the turquoise and blue colors of her shirt. It just gives a little more life to the skin when you have other colors, and it's kind of subtle. You might not look at a picture and say like, oh, there's definitely some pink in there or some blue or some green, but it's just it's one of those little things that you notice. So yeah, I'm just like blending around her mouth and everything. And these kids are, I think this was like a prom picture, so they're pretty young. So, and that was, when I was drawing characters, that was like the bane of my existence, was the teenage girl. It was so like Britney Spears, not a girl, not yet a woman crap. Like, you got a girl wearing makeup who looks like a beautiful young woman, but at the same time, you have to be able to communicate her youth. So to make sure you do that, if you pay attention to the distance between the bottom lip and the chin, that conveys youth, and just make the lines not so harsh. They go around the mouth and eyes and everything like that. Just keep it soft and smooth and youthful, and it'll work out. But I'm gonna have to break this up for a second because this video is hella long. So stay tuned and check out the second part if you want to see how I finish this up. Thank you. Bye-bye.